Okay, I am going live.
Welcome everyone. Welcome to the 26th edition of the Home Theater Hub. Got my
What?
good buddies Paul
What is that?
and
Is
Ike.
that is that is
Dude,
that
I
is that
had
just the
to. I'm
light
sorry.
reflecting, or is that just a customized
It says that's a
home
TikTok buy for
theater
$9.
hub? Oh wow! You can even put the episode number on it.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, I can spell what I want with this
Backwards
thing. I
though,
can.
That's the
It's
definition of y'all gone too far, man. Like, what is that?
it looks backwards
Yeah,
to
it's
me. So
the
Yeah, it
mirror. The
is. It
mirror thing
is.
is not working.
It is backward. He has to kind of figure
I
that
had the
one out.
mirror set up in here. Yeah, I
well,
have to figure that one out.
there's nothing wrong with going backwards, you know. That's
Hey,
how
I
the
get the E
Yeah.
for
Ready Player
effort,
One
right?
rates. So
I get an E for
anyway,
effort, right?
Yeah, you
yeah,
can.
I
And
like it.
you can also put a link in the chat so we can all get one.
Yeah, we need to walk around M Wave with one of these. They were only $9,
Oh, that would be
man.
amazing. Well, yeah, $9, dude. That's awesome.
Like, dude, does he have like a triple A battery on it? I'm walking
No, it's
around with a
like a
battery in my
charger and
head.
stuff like that. No, there's a charger. It's a 9 volt. You stick it in your eardrum, and no.
No, no sticking in nowhere. No.
Oh man. So what's going on, Ike? How's it been this week? What you got going on the Easy HT Tech channel?
Not much. I did finish a review of something that is maybe not necessarily for all of us home theater, nerds, but it's
Oh yeah.
Walmart released a new 4K player, and there's kind of a lot of buzz around it, so I decided to pick it up and just do a review on it. It's really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's like the fake Apple TV then.
I wouldn't call it fake. It's just budget. It's a $50 device, right? So it's not in the Apple TV, price range or performance. You shouldn't be expecting that level of, but there's been a lot of hoopla with Fire TV. I don't know if you guys follow all of that, but anyone who is interested, Amazon is going down the route of their own custom OS. So a lot of people who are into the streaming space don't like that because you can install third-party apps and things like that. They're basically moving away from Android.
Right.
So this device is basically seen as that one quote unquote killer for Fire TV Stick. So there's a different niche of streaming cord cutters that this is very big news for. So I picked it up. It's good. There's Dolby Vision 4K. Obviously, probably won't play ISO files. I don't think it has lossless. I need to test that. There was already a question on the video about checking out lossless, but I don't recall seeing anything about that. So, yeah, that's kind of what I worked on and trying to finish the review for the Sofa Baton to see if I can get it out this weekend.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
I know that's been a hot topic around YouTube is that new sofa baton. So I know that
Yeah.
there's several reviewers reviewing that.
Yeah.
So Paul, what's going on with you, sir? Anything new this week?
Nothing too exciting. Installing certificates and stuff on web servers and finished up my box of movies and gonna pick up another or 2 boxes and gonna go pick up another one. And I just
So how many
ordered,
terabytes are you up to now?
well, let's put it this way. I just ordered a new NAS
Uh-oh.
like today.
What
So
did you
the
get,
new
please?
one,
Because I'm trying to get one.
the new one that depends on how affordable you want to go. I looked at a 6 bay. It would pretty much do anything that you want to do locally at home.
Are you talking
Well,
about the U
by new
green
one, you mean
Yeah, I bought another QNAP. I like the
QNAP.
interface.
Okay.
I'm familiar with the OS, and they do their own security and malware and stuff, so you don't have to do all that extra stuff. And I know you could build your own, but I mean, unless you're doing your own firewall like pfSense or and any intrusion detection or prevention, it becomes a lot of work. But short story is there was a 6 bay that you could get the SCSI or SATA, not SCSI, but the SATA expansion enclosures that you could add, which if I would have bought it, I would have only got an additional like 16 terabytes essentially, which I didn't want that. So I went ahead and went for the smaller of the big daddies, if you would. So they have like one with an i9, an i7, and an i5 processor. I got the one with the i5 processor, so it can easily do 4K and all that stuff, and it has 32 gigs of RAM, and I can expand it natively 110 terabytes, and just with an 8-bay expansion, easily go up to 230 terabytes. So,
Yeah,
and
those
that's only
expansion modules are key, man. If you gotta if you're shopping for a NAS, whatever you want to call it,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
the make sure you take a look at that when you're shopping, because that way you don't have to buy a whole nother machine. You can just use that expansion bay. Those expansion bays.
Yeah.
I
And
was
the
looking at
other
this
one,
Synology one,
yeah.
and they're cheap too, man. It's like $400 to add 8 bays or something like that
Yeah,
compared to the
it was $600 for the 8-bay edition. But
yeah.
that's so is what gets complicated for the Uber nerds. You can buy those enclosures, and some of them are just JBOD, as in, hey, they're just disks. That's it. If you connect them to a computer, that's all it'll see is one big cluster, no backup, no RAID. Some of them, the higher tier ones, have a RAID controller in it, and you can configure that, and that's all it is. It doesn't do anything. It's just basically like a USB stick, a gigantic one, right? But if you pair that with especially the same brand, because you can actually take these and put these SATA PCI cards in a computer and just use the drive enclosure and use your computer as the controlling software. But
Right.
again, that goes way down the rabbit hole of I just will have a QNAP, and once I fill up those 8 bays, I will, which I'm day one, I'll have 7 drives in it, so I'll be pretty close to maxed out. But I will easily be able to buy the $600 expansion. And the enclosure itself, it was pretty expensive. It wasn't, I wouldn't say it was consumer friendly price. It was like $2,200,
Oh wow.
but it's going to be, a 5-year thing. And, again, by the time I get all in, I'll have 113 terabytes for, like if you bought it today, fresh off the market, it'd cost you about $4,500, but that'd be 113 terabytes.
Wow.
Which,
So you're gonna have to. So
some
you're gonna
people
have
are
to.
selling 96 terabytes for $29,000. I won't say who
So
that
you,
is because
So
you're gonna
is the
have. You're gonna. Yeah.
expansion bay? Okay, Russell was asking if it was internal. Yeah, it can be both, right? It can be the M2 internal or it can be external.
well, the expansion bay is an external, and you have to put a dual
See
SATA
that drive, yeah.
PCI card in
Correct.
the NAS or your computer, and then each bay has 4 lanes for the SATA controller. So the first 4 control are on the channel 1 of the SATA, and channel 2 is the second 4, and then your NAS or computer controls, what if you just do JBOD, what you do with those. Like it basically controls the serialization and the data flow of those drives. But if you do it in a NAS, the NAS has all that built in, and you just plug them in, and you can either just say, hey, add it to my existing RAID 5 drive, or hey, I want to make a whole new RAID group over here that I'll dedicate to something else, with 3 drives. Or maybe you want something super fast and you want a RAID 0 with twice the write capacity for something. Like maybe you just save 2 drives, 220 terabyte drives for people to send to you, and then you pull off of that. So anyway, it's a it'll be a fun hobby or a fun shift over from my old one. So I feel sorry for all my subscribers because I'll have to probably have them re-request because I'll have a whole new server.
Hey, just give us 4K content. That's all we're asking for, man.
Yeah,
Just 4K.
and it should handle that a lot better. So, but yeah. It's quite the upgrade, really. So,
but
anyway,
let's go ahead and bring in our guest, and then we'll get back to what Don. We'll get back to what Don's week was up to.
Drink
so
to that.
You want to introduce our guest, Don, and then
we'd like to welcome our guest, Jeremy. Bring Jeremy in. Hey, Jeremy, how's it going?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good. So,
Good.
Jeremy posted his theater on Facebook, and I reached out to him because the pictures that I saw were just absolutely gorgeous, and reached out to him and just started talking to him about his theater. And we keep in touch every couple of weeks or something like that, and I just chat back and forth with him, see how he's doing. Never knew him from Adam, right? But that's what this community does. I enjoy talking to people about home theater, so just sent them a random Facebook message. He was probably like, "Who the hell is this guy?" Right? So,
you weren't the first.
Oh, okay.
Normally when you make posts like that, people always reach out and ask you questions, or that's one of the beauties of this hobby is like everybody's always so willing to like share information or pointers, and everybody's super kind and helpful. That's what
definitely,
I've learned about this hobby.
Yeah, no, I forgot which group you posted it in, but I was going through it, and there's one group that I belong to. It's Show Your Home Theater, I think, on Facebook, but I don't know if that's the one that we actually met through. I don't recall which one it was, but I enjoy that's to me that's the most funnest part is just looking at people's theaters, getting ideas. Like, wow, he constructed this differently than I would, but it's, he did a really good job on this, or wow, okay, I'm going to use this method in, when I'm going to build my riser, I'm going to use this method that he did because I was thinking about doing it a total different way. You know what I mean? So, I do, that's what I do like about that community too. So, but yeah, so, Jeremy, tell us a little bit about yourself. Ike's telling me I'm getting a little pop in my microphone, so let me check my cable here and see what's going on while you're telling us about yourself.
My name's Jeremy. I've always been, I guess you could say, a nerdy kind of techie person on the inside. I'm an automotive mechanic by trade. The funny thing, I get this all the time. People always show me old cars, like 67 Mustangs, and talk to me and come up to me and be like, "Oh, like, wouldn't you love to have a car like this?" And I always laugh because the whole reason I got into the automotive industry was for the new technology. I'm that guy that likes the new stuff, not the old stuff. So I've always been into technology. I was building my parents' a home theater game room when I was like 14 years old, back when technology was completely different than it is now. I started really getting into this about probably 2.5 years ago. I was living in a townhome here in Tennessee, and I set up a 5.2.4 with I call it fake Atmos, where it reflects off the ceiling, and it sounded great. Well, it not compared to what's in here now, but it sounded decent. But my wife was always upset that she could see all of the speakers. That was like the biggest complaint. She would be like, all these speakers everywhere, it just looks terrible, you know? And I'm sure a whole bunch of people can relate to this.
Yep.
But so we bought this house in August of last year. So we've only been here about 7, 8 months now. And it's a 5 bedroom house, and it's just my wife and I. We don't have any kids yet. So we have lots of guest rooms. So this room that I'm sitting in now is second floor. It's actually the biggest bedroom in the house. It's 3 feet longer than the master bedroom, which is right below us. But it was just empty for the longest time after we moved in, and we got done like after we moved in. We did our living room, and she allowed me to put one of those new Sony sound bars on the wall below our OLED TV, and I had to hide the subwoofer off in the corner behind the couch so nobody could see it, right? And so we would be watching movies and stuff in there, and I'd just be like, this is terrible. Like, it sounds okay, but this is terrible. And so I finally convinced her to let me turn one of our many extra bedrooms into a home theater. And I don't think she realized what I was going to do with this room. um, she definitely did. She definitely didn't realize what I was going to do to this room. But when I first started, which was the very beginning of January, we got snowed in here in Tennessee. We got like a really bad storm, and I didn't end up being able to go to work for like 4 days. And that's when I started ripping baseboards out and cutting drywall and stuff. And start to finish, it took me 2 months to
So you did the
complete.
work yourself.
Yeah, I did. I did everything except install the carpet and make the acoustic panels. I ran all
So
the cable. I ran all the electrical for the subwoofers, for the lights. I ran a dedicated 20 amp circuit from my breaker to the closet,
Oh
because
wow.
this is technically a bedroom. So this black curtain behind me is actually a closet that
okay.
houses all the rack equipment.
So you have it's on the second floor, so you had an attic. Is that how you ran most of your wiring through the attic?
So yeah, so there's an attic above us that is like one of those you push the drywall up and out of the way, and you got to
Yeah,
climb
yeah.
up there with a ladder.
Little scuttle hole.
Yeah, exactly. But I ran all the speaker cables down low, and I ran all the electrical wires up high to avoid interference. So
Okay.
so I popped the baseboards off, they're like 4 inch, pretty tall baseboards, and I cut the drywall right below the caulking line all the way around so I could expose the bottom of the studs. And then I drilled a 3/4 inch hole through the bottom of the studs where I needed to go.
Oh wow! So you went through every stud.
Well, so it only goes to like a third, but yeah. And then
Okay.
like most of them are like 5 inches off the baseboard. So I mean, if a tornado comes, it'll probably rip this room out first. But so yeah, I drilled holes through the most of the studs, and then
So just to make sure, let me get the picture of this. So you notched it out, or you actually just drilled a hole through the middle of the stud?
I didn't notch it. I drilled
Okay.
a hole in the middle. That way the load can still transfer around the
Yeah.
circle.
Yeah, for insurance purposes,
Instead
let's
of
not go
instead of
into too
making
much
like
details on
a
that.
Jenga, the walls are just gonna like fall in.
No, I was
Yeah,
just curious because even at 16 inches on center, it's tough to get a drill in there when you're doing that. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know what it's just because I'm building my theater. I know. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So trying to
Yeah,
do
so I
stuff like
mean
that.
the drill's about like this long, and I had like a 4-inch bit that was like three quarters, maybe 5/8,
Okay.
a paddle bit. Oh,
Yeah.
a tip too. I burned through about three bits before I realized that they actually make paddle bits that are meant to go through some nails. Who would have thought, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
So then
Well,
I just went
it's
along and
always good to have the proper tools, right?
Yeah.
yeah, or
Makes the
just
job
know
go a
that
lot
they
easier.
exist.
Yeah.
But I
Excellent.
went through and put drywall screws because obviously I had cut the drywall, so the top section of the drywall was loose because it was secured with the bottom. So I put screws at every stud to hold the top drywall, and then I just screwed the piece that I cut out back on, put the baseboard back on, and mudded over all those extra screws I put in. I ran RCA cables too for the subwoofers as well, so I ran
Okay.
all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. The subwoofer cable. So yeah. So tell us a little bit about you know what got you into home theater.
I
what was the aha moment for you?
I mean I've always loved going to the movies. There's something really special about, I mean, this might sound bad, but like dissociating from where you are in that very moment and kind of transporting you into some other world and feeling like you're there, you know?
Right.
Like for me, like the immersion, the put like it makes you feel like you're there. And I've always loved that. I mean, I'm not saying that I don't love my life now. I mean, I obviously do. But the whole home theater and feeling like you're there in Jurassic Park with the dinosaurs, or you're in running around with John Wick in one of his movies.
Right.
I've always loved that. I would say the big like aha moment is when I first set up that 5.2.4 setup in the townhome, and it was bad because I had neighbors, but I really like started cranking the movie, and I only had like a 75-inch TV at the time, and I would just like heard the surround sound, like real surround sound for the first time, and I was like, this is cool. Like, and then once we bought the house, I got the go ahead. It was full tilt.
So,
I wanted the best that I could get, but not spend $500,000 like some of these guys do.
right.
So
Yeah. Right. So did you watch 1917? Did you enjoy, since you talked about immersion? You know how they filmed that with the camera and walked around behind the guys and
yeah,
everything else
behind all
like
the
that.
guys.
Yeah. Did you enjoy that movie? Because
Oh yeah,
I felt that it really brought me into the movie, like you were
yeah.
speaking about.
It made you feel like you were there because they were like walking around behind with them. So that's a
Yeah, it was
great
almost like
example.
playing a first-person shooter game, you know? So,
Yeah,
it
I
Yeah,
was,
wonder why a lot of movies are not being shot like that.
I
yeah,
think
it's,
because a lot of people probably get motion sickness from it.
Yeah, well, I guess, yeah, for that particular movie, that realism, right? The motion sickness was needed. I think it was part of the the ambience of it, where it was like there's too much going on at some point. So it made a lot of sense. But quickly, so what would you consider your top 3 movies?
Me?
Yep.
Ready Player One, Dune, both Dunes. I mean, I'm gonna put that as one. I like both of the Dunes, and then Top Gun.
Maverick.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
it's just so well put together. It's emotional. It's got the action.
For me, Top Gun was good until he got I guess till he was just freely running through an enemy's Air Force base and nothing was being done about it.
without getting shot.
Yeah.
It's like,
I think,
yeah. Oh, by the way, I'm going to give a spoiler here if you guys haven't seen this movie yet. But oh, by the way, let me just go steal this plane that's not even,
Yeah.
it's not even working, and let's change the engines out and just fix it and then leave.
Real
But
quick.
yeah, but I think it's one of those things, right? The older you get, the more you have to leave your logic outside the theater room
No,
when you
I
go
agree.
in to watch movies. It's like that's not possible, but oh well, let's just enjoy it.
That's like the what's that? One of the transporters where he jumps off of the parking garage,
Oh
flips the
yeah,
car just
flips.
perfectly to knock the bomb off of the lower portion of the car. Yeah, it's like
Yeah, I wouldn't have believed that even in 3rd grade, right? I was like, man, that really 3rd grade, you know.
yeah. So, Jeremy, I know you're on a kind of a time crunch, but so let's talk about a little bit more about your theater and what are the dimensions of the room for your
So the
theater that you
room
have?
is 13 feet wide, and it's 18 feet to the closet, this black wall, and then it's like 21 feet to the door. So
Okay,
the door,
so there's a little L to the back or whatever.
yeah.
So,
So it's got like a
kind of
little.
like your room, Mike.
Yep.
So the door has like a little pop back, so it just goes like a little. It's got a
Yeah.
nook.
Yeah, I have that type almost in my room. It deprives me of 2 feet, additional 2 feet that I could have used for my back row seat.
Yeah,
But that's where
and
my
that was
main
that
AC
was a
docked. So
huge that was a huge thing for me too. Is I was gonna put a second row in here. I actually designed the speaker layout and stuff for 2 rows, and ended up pulling the plug on making a platform last minute because when it came down to it, did I really want to spend an extra $5,000 for another set of seats? And did I want to build a platform for chairs that would probably get used once or twice a year? I mean, if I had 2 kids or more, I mean, yeah, I would have built a second row. But I mean, it's mainly just my wife and I. And when people come over for dinner or like we have guests, like I'll bring like 4 people in here and they'll sit in the chairs and I'll just stand behind them and I'll just run through a couple demos so they can experience it. But it's
yeah,
not this room's not really big enough to like be like, "Hey, everybody, let's come over and watch a movie at my house," you know?
Right.
It's more of
yeah.
So
I guess you say, a personal theater.
you got one row. How many seats do you have? 3 wide, or is that
Yeah, it's 3 wide.
okay? Have you considered putting like a little, like maybe like a little bar behind there to give a couple extra seating? You know, like not like a lot of people will take those type of tables and put them right behind their sofa, and then they, you know what I'm talking about. And then you can add a couple little
Yeah, and
bar
they have,
stools
like,
in
bar
there.
stools behind them.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
could do that. I could probably move the move this row up about 8 inches and do that. But
Yeah.
we were probably gonna get, because there's like the seating distance to the screen is like right at 9.5, 10 feet. So we were gonna put like two really big beanbag chairs in the front,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so that people could just lounge. Like if we did have people over and we all wanted to watch a new movie,
Right.
we could just
Yeah,
flop in the beanbag chair.
you can move the main seating, your main chairs back for another 2 feet and just put a beanbag right in front of it. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
So did
enough room.
your wife help you any with the theater, or did you? Is she like
Um.
into
Yeah.
the whole thing?
She helped paint,
Oh, okay.
and then bless her heart, she helped me paint this, or put the felt adhesive back felt on the ceiling, and we almost got divorced twice doing that. I will. I will. Oh my gosh. So from the front of the theater wall to about right where I'm sitting is all adhesive backed felt, and it comes on a roll that's 3.5 feet wide, and it's
Yeah.
adhesive backed. So
You got
you
to
have
peel
to,
it.
yeah.
I have the
Okay,
exact
so
one. Yep.
3.5 feet wide. Your arms are like extended, right?
Yep.
And then my wife's trying to peel the back off, and you're trying not to let it stick together.
Yeah.
And then I'm up on a ladder, like trying to hold it up there, right? And she's trying to pull the back off, and then like push it up, and there's like
Smooth it out
felt
just perfect.
everywhere. It's in your nose, it's in your eyes, like it's on your arm. Oh man.
Yeah, I bought those from Amazon. I lost an entire row just like that because I was trying to be smart. I stuck one part. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna pull, and that whole thing just came together. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
man.
It was so we did the outsides first, and then by the time we did the middle one, the second day, mind you, we're like wearing masks, and we finally figured out that if you put a ladder up in the middle, you can lay the felt over the ladder and then
And
pull the
pull.
adhesive back, and the ladder will hold it really close to the ceiling. So then you could just be on one end lining it up, and then put it, and then black thumbtacks are your friend. Black thumbtacks will hold it while you're
While
like
you've
smoothing it
smoothed it
all
out.
out.
Yeah, I still have an entire row. I stopped halfway on mine, and that's what, getting to 2 years now. I haven't touched it. So it's just there. It's the other roll is sitting in the closet right behind me. It's like, nope, not doing this. I'll be
I mean,
just fine.
it's definitely worth it. I have some before and after pictures with the blue Epson home screen that comes up back when I had my Epson, and the reflections off the ceiling were terrible.
Yeah.
And then I have a photo where I've had one side done and not the others. I turned the projector on, and it makes a huge difference.
Different. Yeah, it does.
Huge
So
difference.
you said you had an Epson. What Epson did you have?
I had an LS 12,000,
Okay. So
brand new.
one of the newer Epsons. So I just from speaking with you, I know that you had a little issue with them, with that particular projector. Without bashing them too much, what what was the issue that you had with them?
It is what it is. I mean, it's not. It's just so my screen is a 120-inch wide, so it's 10 feet. It's a scope screen. So the most projectors natively are 16 by 9. So you have to zoom them in to fill up a scope screen. So I was going back and forth, like learning the lens memory so that I could watch like TV shows with it zoomed out, and then scope content when it was zoomed in. I had it all dialed in, set up. I had my calibrator guy scheduled to come out in 2.5 weeks to calibrate it. and I was on Apple TV, and you know how all the icons are there, and then there's like black between the icons, but it's like kind of a gray black. So I zoomed it out to show the 16 by 9, and I noticed a huge green dot. So I had a stuck pixel, and since it's a 4K E shift, it's not native 4K. So the pixels were like decently sized. So I had called Epson. It was within the 30 days that I had purchased it. So if you're within 30 days of purchase, they send you a brand new unit, not a refurbished one. So called them. They said, yeah, no problem. Like their customer service was phenomenal. Phenomenal. They always answer the phone. They'll transfer you to the corporate office if they have to get to somebody. I mean, I can't say anything bad about Epson customer service. So they processed a replacement. They charged me the hold so that I didn't have to send them my old one. They would just send me a new one, and then I would put my old one in a box and send it back to them. So told me they shipped it out, or that they were going to. 4 days go by. Mind you, I already had my calibrator scheduled to come out here in 2 weeks now. So I'm like kind of under the gun, like this is going down and I don't have a working projector. And I'm like talking to him the whole time, like, well, I watch scope content anyways, like, and it's zoomed in, you can't even see that pixel. And I'm like, but I just spent all this money on a projector. I want it to be right. So I was really torn between whether or not to go through with getting a replacement. So 4 days go by, and I call Epson again, and I ask, why hasn't it shipped yet? And she said, let me look into it. She called corporate, and then she said that she would let me know. So that night, I got an email saying that the projector shipped. So I was like, oh, cool. Like, they're getting stuff done. Next day, I come home, I sign for the package, and it's a huge box that says reconditioned all over it. And so they had shipped me a refurbished unit. So I immediately called them. They said, oh, well, the new units are on back order. And I was like, but like I'm owed like a new projector. Like I don't really want a reconditioned one. If I wanted a reconditioned one, I would have bought a refurb from the get-go instead of spending the money on the new one. Right. And she was like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, so that's where corporate got involved. And they were like, okay, so just use the refurbished one for now until the new ones come back in stock, and then we'll send you a new one. And I was like, cool. Yeah, so super helpful. And I hung the refurb, and the fan was just sounded like a jet engine off the get-go, like way louder than my other one. Like I have no idea. It was unbearable. It was really bad. So I took it back down, and I put it in the box, and I just shipped that one back to him. I'm like, I'm not giving you my original one. So I called them, and they said, oh, well, you're just going to have to keep calling back, seeing when the new units are back in stock. So that was where my friend, who's now one of my really close friends, Daniel, came in, and he's the guy that was going to come out and calibrate it. So he wasn't super pushy at all. He was gonna come do the Epson. So I got talking to him. He gave me a really good deal on the JVC NP5, and at the same time, I was like, okay, if I'm gonna do this, I want to do it once and and do it
Right.
right.
Exactly.
Like I'm of the type of person that it might cost more money, but at the same time, you're not taking that time and money upgrading everything over time. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
I got the Panamorph DCR lens, and I also purchased a Lumigen all through him. He he brought the Lumigen with him in his carry-on because Lumigen is in Oregon, and so he's like 30 minutes away from their warehouse. So he went and picked up my Lumigen, made sure it worked, and then hopped on an airplane and flew out to my house to set everything up. It all ended up working out, but so I ended up having to call Epson every week for about 2 months, just calling, giving them my last case number and asking them, so do you have them in stock yet? Or so they finally did have them in stock. They shipped me a brand new unit, which they always say don't send all the accessories back. Keep your remote, your mount, all that stuff. But Epson literally sent me a brand new Epson LS 12,000 that came with a chief mount. It came with like everything, remotes, cables, warranty booklets. Like it was like a brand new retail version of the projector. So I ended up selling it, and I returned my
Okay.
old.
Nice.
Well, at least they made good on their promise.
Yeah,
To
and if they had the new ones in stock, it would have been a very seamless warranty replacement, and it would have all been handled.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I've heard.
I
I
can't
think I
really.
told you in our text message that I've heard nothing but great things about Epson. So, I
It was
their
super
customer
bright.
service.
It was super bright, and I loved how fast it turned on. But all lasers turn on a lot faster than bulbs. But from the content I did watch with it, the the black levels. That's the one thing. I mean, when I compare it to the JVC I have now, the NP5, the Epson blacks are like gray. That's the one downside. Other than that, it had really great brightness. I mean, it wasn't calibrated when I had it, so brightness usually goes down after being calibrated. But
Right.
um,
Yeah, and you can get a little bit better blacks too than right out of the box too as you
yeah,
get it
so
calibrated.
yeah, turn it down. So I ran it at like 75% laser just to keep the fan noise down. But
Right.
I mean, it's a great entry level laser projector. It does 120 hertz.
Yep.
And it comes with a
Yeah, 'cause
mount too.
Paul here, he's got the bulb version of the it's the 6050, right, Paul?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've got
So
this, and I didn't see any necessary improvements from what the 6050 to the LS for me, anyways. The colors were, it might have been a little brighter, but it just, I don't know, it just didn't look any different, I guess, comparatively, versus one of my buddies has the BenQ 4550, and that thing looks like razor sharp. Like it's still not as good as at black levels wise, but man, the difference between, like, I think if the Epson did whatever BenQ did, and I don't know if BenQ, I think BenQ might be a native 4K or something, but I don't remember. I could be totally wrong about that, but it looked way sharper. And if that was the difference, I probably would have gotten the newer Epson. But I'm hoping they do a refresh here soon, or
yeah, I'm
now
sure
with
they will.
everybody.
I think it's probably the entry level laser, right? It's probably their first foray into laser.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I
their
mean, a lot of
first
yeah,
laser projector, but it's it's
Well,
not.
the LS 11,000 was the first one.
Oh, was the first one? Oh, okay. And then the
Yeah,
12 came out shortly after.
the
So,
Well, I think
12,000
that
came out.
was isn't
It's
that
supposed
kind of the
to be.
same thing? It's just one's like their consumer kind of how they do like the 50-50 versus the 60-50 type of deal. They're almost the same thing. I don't know that there was a whole lot of difference between those two, but
yeah.
I'm not sure.
Supposedly the contrast ratios were better on the
Okay.
12,000, and it was black versus having a white casing,
yeah,
and
black versus white.
it
Yeah.
came with the chief mount,
Okay. Yeah.
which
That's
I
kind
still
of
use for my JVC.
yeah. Yeah.
Which
Yep. Those
those
cheap mounts are nice. Yeah.
even when they even JVC and whatever they when you got your TVs and everything talking about nits, it's always at the highest level for the shortest amount. Same thing with contrast on the projector, right? They're always maxing it out as much that they can for a very small window, or whatever it is. So they're
Yeah, to get a number to put on the
right.
spec sheet.
Exactly. Yeah, just like watts on an amplifier, right? You got your or your
Yeah,
AVRs. You got your
Yeah.
AVRs that say
I
150
forgot
watt.
what grinded my gears last week was the relative like normally
Yeah,
or whatever they did. I was like, what in the world does that
yeah.
mean? Like, whenever you liquid
Figuratively,
nitrogen cool it, it normally gets 400 watts for 0.0001 seconds. Like, what is that? What does that mean?
Paul went on like
That's
a
not a
20-minute
term.
rant.
Yeah. Oh man, I
I was
couldn't
like, I'm
do
just gonna
that.
stay out of this one.
Yeah,
Just
this one you just got to let them go. Just highlight them and let
Yeah.
them go.
Yeah. Oh man, it's hilarious. Yeah, and they do that. Like I know my is Epson. Like I have it calibrated in two different levels, and I have one what I just called bright mode, and that's what I watch during the day, so I can actually watch it during the day. And I still have to close any direct lights, but yeah, dark scenes are still tough for any projector during the day. But I also have just my normal mode is calibrated to like a delta of like 4.5 or something like that. But it's way darker whenever you actually calibrate it. So even the Epson that is supposed to be like super super the bright one. So, but
Yeah, and even
yeah,
the JVC and stuff, once you put that color filter in place, and then if you have the 9 or the NZ9 or the NZ8 that has the color filter, once you put that in place and then you calibrate, I mean you probably lose about 30% of your brightness.
and you
yeah,
do, and that was one of the reasons why I got the NP5, because um it has the same brightness calibrated, but it has better color gamut than you get with the NZ8 or the NZ9. But if the NZ8 or the NZ9 run the color filter, then they get all of the green part of the
yeah,
color gamut, which the NP5 is missing like a tiny bit of the green color gamut, but it beats it on brightness. So for a third of the price, I mean, yeah, the other one's a laser and it turns on faster, but for the price, you cannot beat the NP5 for what it does.
Yeah, and Ike just picked up the what is it, the
seven.
NZ7?
Yep.
NZ7. So he just picked that up a couple
Yeah,
months
I
back.
almost picked up the MP5. I was this close to get it. 'Cause I had a couple of back and forths with Dodd about the MP5. I was like, okay, I'll just get the 7. But yeah, it's a great projector. Yep.
And then, of course, I added the lens to it too because I have a scope screen. So I get 30% more brightness back from squishing the image. So after calibration, I got I get like 134 nits on the screen, which is
that's what does that calculate? Did your calibrator give you foot Lamberts for that? Do you know? Did he? Do you,
he probably has that sheet. I could probably ask him, but
yeah, yeah. I was just curious what that calculated to, the nits versus the foot Lamberts. Um, but I mean, hey, as long as you're enjoying it, and
I love it.
it's
It
doing
looks
what you want.
amazing.
It doesn't matter if it's 2-foot Lamberts, right? So
Yeah.
as long as you're enjoying it, and you're getting immersed in your movies, and it's something as a pastime hobby for you. That's fantastic, man. So why don't we get a little tour of this gem that you got?
All right, let me grab this.
Yep, and let me switch you over to full screen while we figure that out. Let's see, we can see a neck line. So, God, there you go.
There we go. I love that carpet, man.
All right, I'll do the walk-in.
Okay.
So I painted the door. The door to the room is actually black. So
We
we have
got
our
the same popcorn machine. I like it.
yeah. So
Do you
we
guys ever
like
use your popcorn machine? I haven't used mine
Dude,
in a while.
I use mine like I don't even have a theater, and I use mine 3 times a week probably.
I I try to use mine.
All
So
right,
this
this
is
theater features Dolby Atmos. Like it?
and then those are
Well,
the
those
wall
panels are a lot
sconces.
thicker than what I saw on the pictures. What are those, like 8-inch panels? 6-inch?
They're 6.5.
Oh wow.
6.5. Let me clean this camera real quick. Yeah, so they're let me see. If I turn these off, that'd probably help. There you go.
Yeah,
So
that looks
they're
great.
6.5 inch. So they're base traps technically, and then the ones on the ceiling are 4.5 inch. There's
Now, is
the
that
dreaded traps.
GIK, or did you? I noticed that you have the Viacoustic diffusers there. Is that Viacoustic or
Yeah,
GIK for the panel, the absorption?
the absorption is custom made by Music City Acoustics in Nashville. It's a
Okay.
company that specializes in music studios, and they do theaters as well. Very rarely, but they do them. They designed. They came here, looked at the room. I gave them the layout. They designed the placement of everything, the thickness, and I had them make the panels.
Okay, and is it like a pure foam, or is there a frame around them? How do
Yeah,
they
so
construct
it's
those?
actually it's wood, and then it is foam. It's not like insulation, and it goes all the way in the back to about like a half an inch.
Oh wow.
So the back's lined with uh, acoustic fabric as well, so that it doesn't like come out or rattle. And then everything's held on with French cleats.
Okay, and then color wise, is that a light gray or a darker gray?
So the ones on the walls are black because I painted the ceilings black, and so the front wall behind the curtains is black, and then this wall, you can kind of see it right here on the corner. This wall is actually black right here before it
Okay.
goes gray. So all of the side facing walls are gray, and all the forward to back, like the door here, is black around the edges. And then I even did this little wall black as well.
Yeah, it gives
So
it a nice pop.
the panels are black to be contrasting, and then the panels on the ceiling are gray to contrast as well.
Yeah, definitely. I love that look. It looks very nice. So you
So
said you're 13 foot wide.
Yeah, so it's 13.
18 feet deep, correct?
Yeah, so you can see how I have all this room in front of the chairs for
Yeah.
what we were talking about, the bean bags.
Yep.
But something that I didn't realize until actually talking to an acoustician who knows a lot more about sound waves than me and the internet seem to think. You notice how that I start with absorption over here, but on this side of the room we start with diffusion.
Yeah. That's
So
an
it
Anthony Gamani suggestion also.
alternates on each side. And I asked him, I was like, why don't they match? I'm like, that's gonna bug me. Like the left side of the room is the opposite
Right.
of the right side of the room. So I got to learn all about flutter echo in a room and what flutter echo is and how if sound bounces off one wall and goes to the other, if it's diffusion, it'll just keep reverberating back and forth. So I learned something new, but it turned out great. I mean,
That's good. Do you use anything like REW or anything like that?
yeah. So um, right now the setup in the room is a 7 bass layer. I have 3 subs, so I have 2 14-inch Klipsch RP 1400s up front, and then back here I have a RP 1600, a 16-inch. I have I run. Let's open the closet. Yeah, so I weather stripped and then had to put locks on the closet doors so they didn't vibrate. So I have an RCAM with full direct live bass control. Recently, I just got into Easy BEQ, which is a Raspberry Pi device right here with the green
Mm-hmm.
light that plugs into a mini DSP, and the Raspberry Pi unlocks all of the low frequencies that's cut off in the movies. Below 30 hertz, it starts tapering off. And so that restores the natural low frequencies that was supposed to go into those movies. So I had to start running a mini DSP to be able to use that. So I used REW and MSO to set up all 3 subs.
Okay.
And MSO sets the subs up flat. So I set them up in a completely flat curve. And these Klipsch subs actually hit pretty hard down to 12.5 hertz, which is crazy for the price point of these subs. And then I plug those 3 subs into it goes into the RCAM. Obviously, it's just one subwoofer, but they direct live then controls that one sub to create all the crossovers for all the speakers. So it took a while for my calibrator friend and I to figure all this out, but it actually turned out really well, and it you get that real tactile bass. The floor feels like it's rippling. It's pretty good.
Yeah. So you're one of our first people on here to actually do a tour that has the RCAM, and I've actually demoed the RCAM. I think it has a phenomenal sound. Um, the only this isn't an AVR. Is it an AVR or is it a process? The process.
It's an AVR. It's an AVR 20. And then
Okay.
I have that Outlaw. The Outlaw actually runs the front stage, and then all 4 of my Atmos. I didn't want it to run my Atmos. I wanted it to do my whole bed layer, but unfortunately, with the settings on the RCAM, or at least the AVR20, I wasn't able to assign the external that way. So I amplify my Atmos and my front stage, but I really can't tell the difference between which ones are amplified by what. I mean, it all sounds the same.
So with the Arcam with the receiver, I don't think they're with. I know with the processor, I've heard that they were a little buggy. How is the AVRs? I don't think they were as buggy as the processor. Do you run into any issues with the Arcam?
So you'll notice right now that it's completely powered off. So I have another good friend who I've met through the groups and stuff, who said, and I've run into this as well. If I leave the RCam on like that, where it's in standby, it will. I'll like, let's say I go downstairs and like eat dinner and then clean up dinner, and I want to come back up here and watch a movie. If this is in standby or left on like this for an extended period of time, I'll come back in and I'll play the movie and it'll start playing, but there'll be no sound.
Okay.
And then the only way to fix that is to literally just like hard shut it off and then turn it back on. So whenever I watch a movie, I come in here and I push the power switch at the top. That turns on my RCam and my Outlaw, and then when I'm done, I just turn it off.
I
But
see.
also, I ran into a lot of high-pitched screeching noises that threw me for a loop for the longest time when I was using a trigger cable between the RCam and the Outlaw. And the high-pitched screeching it sounded like a computer processor, like in the background, kind of ticking sometimes or screeching sometimes. And it was coming through my Atmos, and it annoyed the heck out of me until I finally narrowed it down to the trigger wire. So now I don't run a trigger. I just hard turn it all off with this when I'm done, and then turn it all on.
It's crazy
with
how
one
that little
button.
trigger can cause that kind of problem.
Yeah,
you know?
so I had a similar problem like that using a direct trigger cable, also with OSD amp on a Denon, but I got that Emotiver has this switch, right? The trigger, it's like a little small box that has 4 trigger inputs. And I bought that, and that basically helped resolve the issue for me. So you might, and it's
That might
really
be something
cheap.
to look at then.
I think it's like $20 on Emotiver's website. It's a really cheap, and that way you just run one and then run every other trigger cable you have into that box. So
That's
that
cool.
helped me.
That's
But
cool
yeah,
now.
yep.
Yeah, that might help out with that. But yeah, no, I mean, the Arcam had fantastic sound. I mean, I literally almost bought the processor, and I mean, the reviews is the only thing that stopped me from buying it, just because of the reviews of it being a little buggy here and there. So, but I
I
mean,
mean, if I were to upgrade in the future, I mean, I really wanted to go to a preprocessor, to a processor, and then set separate amps. But I mean, it sounds so good the way it is, and the room's not really that big,
right.
so
Yep.
I don't really need all that amplification. I mean, I have friends that have JTR setups, and I'm just like, what? Like, are you filling a stadium? Like, they're like, oh yeah, I have like 3,000 amps of amplification going to my front stage, and I'm like, I got 110 amps, and I can't even stand when it's over like 70 decibels in here. It's so loud. So
talk
it's all.
to Talk to Paul about going to Scott.
Yeah, Scott Newby's show
living it
tomorrow.
with Scott and Scott and Cat's podcast. They're having an event called Base Brings Us Together. I can't wait to hear about this when Paul
yeah,
comes back.
he has like 18 subs in his room downstairs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's actually
Yeah, I
in the
saw
audience right now. He's actually on here. Thanks for joining, Scott. Speaking of that, shout out to Chris and Joseph for joining. Appreciate you guys. C-Big, thank you to everybody joining, watching the live stream here. So what do you got for your front stage there?
So this is Klipsch RP 8000 F2. It's 1-inch tweeter and it's dual 8s.
Those are sexy, man. I love the
Yeah.
looks of Klipsch.
All
Oh,
these-
dude, when you take all these off, it looks great. I'll give you a little peek.
He's taking the clothes off for you, Don.
He's undressing.
I'm showing you under the skirt. I'm showing you under the skirt.
Yeah, that looks that's just a great photo opportunity right there. I'm going to use that
So
as
I
my thumbnail. Don't steal my thumbnail, Ike.
So I took a photo of it. I posted it. Klipsch every month has like a send in your photo thing, and they didn't pick me, so I was pissed.
Oh,
Man.
Oh man.
How could they know?
so what kind of screen do you have there? Is that a Stewart?
It's Seymour.
Seymour.
It's
Okay.
it's a 1.3 gain, non-acoustically transparent. I was gonna end up. Let me put you back in the holder. I was gonna build a fake wall and do all CAF speakers actually originally, but my budget didn't like that. So this screen, I bought it specifically because it has magnetic masking panels. So if I watch a TV show or something that's 16 by 9,
Oh, nice.
I can put these up. And then now I have a 110-inch 16 by 9 screen.
Yeah, that's cool. I like
Yeah,
that.
that's cool, man. I like that.
That's a good.
So
That's
it
a good
really
football
helps
watching.
because the black levels on focus. The
Yeah, that autofocus got you.
yeah, it's all messed up. But yeah, so I watch like Formula One races and stuff up here. So having this is like really nice to not have really bad gray on the sides. And I mean, there's just 2 guitar picks and some magnets on a felt screen.
Did they come with the projector, or did you have to with the screen, or did you have to buy it separately?
It was a $400 option
Oh,
to
okay.
have them, and they're all handmade specifically for what size screen you have. So
Yeah, I'm thinking of getting one from Seymour for my screen also, because they have that too.
it's a Seymour AV, so it's
Yeah.
their consumer brand. So it's a very sturdy screen. Interesting enough, the screen sits like 6 inches off of the wall, so that it doesn't flatten out all the curtains underneath it. That was what my wife said. I originally had it on a 2x4, and it was like pushed into the curtains, and so my wife told me that it looked bad, so it's actually on 3 2x4s, so it's hanging 6 inches off of the wall, so it kind of looks like it's floating, which is really cool. But the best part is there's 2 windows behind these screens. There's a window right here, and there's a window. But in the daylight, at like noon, you can't see a single beam of light in here. If you turn the lights off, it's completely black.
Nice. Does it
But
have the does it have the black does it have the black cloth behind? I don't think you need one for that.
behind,
Behind the projector screen.
yeah, so I have curtains, blackout curtains.
Yeah.
But I
So did you do like a
also-
window
Green is-
plug or anything like that to?
I think the Seymours
acoustic.
come with the backing on them already.
Yeah, that's
You
what
can
that's
buy
what I
the,
was
the
asking.
back
Yeah,
blacking. Yeah.
yeah, that's what I was asking.
And then he
Well,
also
I
has
just
the
like,
curtains. So
I don't know where it is. There's just a blackout film on the windows, and they're
Yeah.
open. But the curtains do a great job of like a natural acoustic absorption because they're free floating. So that's why I put them on the back wall too to cover the closet, because it's like a big flat wall right there. And the guys over at Music City Acoustics recommended that.
So what are your
Does-
surround speakers?
So let me switch back. They are the RS.
Yeah, I think we lost your picture. We can still hear your sound. Okay,
There
we
it
see
is.
it. We see it now.
So they're the RP504C
Oh, okay.
bipole.
I used to use those when I had my Klipsch setup. Yep, the 544s.
And then the rears are the 500 SAs.
Okay, so you got the rears,
So
like
that
almost like the wedge mount rears. That was pretty
Yeah,
cool.
so
Get it
that
out as
was,
wide as you can over there.
so I wanted to put them where they're supposed to go,
Mhm.
which would be right here, right here, and right here. But there's a doorway right here, so
Right.
Yeah.
so I
I'm gonna
put
run
them
into
as
the
wide
same
as I
problem.
could.
And what about your Atmos speakers? What are you using for Atmos?
And to be here, let me switch the lights so you guys can actually see them. So,
Okay.
Yeah, we
so
see it.
the Atmos are actually older. Do you see them?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
The Atmos are actually older Klipsch THX speakers. They're
Okay.
KS7502. So there's two 3.5-inch cone woofers, and then there's two 1-inch tweeters. They're way overkill for Atmos speakers, but I got them on a Facebook Marketplace deal, and they rock for Atmos speakers.
So someone asked if you had any heating or if you needed any cooling in your closet or where your equipment is.
Okay, so I ran into this. So here's the closet, and I added a ventilation fan in the top of the closet. So the rack fans, they all have fans, and the rack will blow the air out of the top.
Okay.
And then the hot air from the rack will then go into the ventilation fan. So I have it all set up on a smart home. So you can see the temperature sensor in the back by the Orbi. So whenever I turn on one of my activities on my Harmony, it automatically turns on the ventilation fan I put in the attic, and it sucks the hot air out of the rack room, the closet, and then it will actually blow it into my upstairs living room right there into the return.
Oh,
Okay.
So that's
Very
what
good.
I did for that.
Well, that's pretty cool. Yeah. That's. I think people get a little worried about that. And it's like, yeah, he probably does. And I just now
Yeah.
noticed those pendants are actually lights because because I was curious about the pendant. Yeah, those. I don't know if you
Yeah,
just
so
turned those on. I was like, those look like lights, but I didn't see
yeah,
them
so they
on.
actually you can twist them and stuff too. They move.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Are
I
they
like
are
those.
they
Those look pretty
rechargeable or are they hardwired?
No, I hardwired them in. I ran electrical boxes to all of them, so it runs
Yeah,
off of
those look
the
pretty
same
cool.
light that the ceiling does.
Yeah, that's
Well, they're on
awesome.
separate smart switches, so
Separate switches. Yeah.
I use all Lutron stuff in my house, so they're Lutron, so I can
That's funny.
dim them
Yeah,
all down.
that's what I use is the Lutron. It's
So, and the Panamorph lens that you have on your JVC, that is the JC version one for the JVC.
Yeah, it's the specific one that is 3D printed for it, so I can't upgrade to a NZ9 or something with a 100mm lens.
Yeah.
Shout out to Panamorph because when I got my first lens, there was actually some like adhesive banding on the inside of the lens that my calibrator and I couldn't clean off, and so he sent an email to them because I purchased it through him. He sent an email to Panamorph, and the guy immediately just overnighted me another lens. Like I got it
Wow.
the next day. Like huge props to them for their
I actually
customer
like the
service.
way that one mounts on there. I have the DCR, the one that's interchangeable between any projector. So I really like the way that's a clean looking mount like that. I really like the way that looks.
Yeah, I mean, if you didn't know that that's not how it's supposed to look, you would never assume that that's aftermarket.
Right.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
not like it's hanging off the top on
Yeah,
some
because mine has like a bracket
metal
that
mount.
screws to the top, and then the lens
Yeah, and then you have to
it
like
hangs in front of the
hang
lens.
it
And Mhm.
in front of the lens.
the
Yeah,
only
it's
the only good
super
part about
clean.
mine is the fact that it's universal, right? So I could use it for any. So before your calibrator put it on there, did he do like demos between the with it on and with it off?
I had turned on the projector originally to make sure that it worked. I
Right.
didn't want any content because it was already like a day or so before he was going to show up.
I see.
But we had to take it on and off a bunch of times because we were trying to clean it. He actually ended up talking to one of the guys over at Panamorph, and they said try cleaning the lens to see if the banding goes away because when he was doing the contrast, what's it called? He was programming the contrast, the sweep. Oh, gamma. There we go. That's the word. When he was doing the gamma, um, when there was like white, you could see these like banding lines, and we were like, "Is that on the screen or is that like in the lens?" Or we couldn't really figure it out. So we cleaned the lens a bunch, and that's what they recommended that we did. And then we ended up the lens is actually adjustable, so it'll tilt up and down. and you could see right now it's angled pretty high up. And you want to make sure that the image that comes out of it is in the exact middle, not too high up on the glass or too low. And so they thought that it was too high up on the lens. So we were actually tilting it up and down, and that's when we realized that when we were tilting it, the banding marks were actually moving on the screen. Like it was moving when we were tilting the lens. So that's when he called him again, and they're like, I'm just going to overnight you another one and send us the old one back. So really cool, guys. But yeah, in regards to the cooling, we were talking about this earlier. I just did some air conditioning mods because it's about to be summertime here in Tennessee. So I added a 14 by 14 return in the back of the room to help pull the hot air from this heat pump right here. And then all the AC ducts are in the front, so it'll help pull the cold air to the back of the room. And they also added a supply right here underneath the diffusion panels, and it's worked phenomenally. Can't believe I didn't do it sooner.
So is that like attic space that's on the other side of that, or is that on the other side of that wall there?
So it's like I'll show you. If these cats don't try to run into this room. But I guess so there's a door behind it. So inside here, this door. So right behind my AC unit is the theater wall. So this is
nice.
the theater wall right here. So it was actually really easy for them to get access to do all the AC stuff.
Yeah, that's very convenient. You know,
And then of course, the aftermath of recently building a home theater. You know, we got the Arvolution box and my Klipsch box, and
is that the 4K or the 8K version?
I have the 8K version.
Okay, very
nice. Good. That's a really great device, man. Like I'm rocking mine.
So I love the Arvolution. I call it I don't want to say poor man's kaleidoscope, but if you have a movie collection,
I'll
so
drink to that.
Yeah, so
we have a saying: if you say that word, you got to take a drink.
So Paul, you were talking about a NAS. You just got a new NAS.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a movie collection as well.
And I'm gonna switch you back. So let me get you back on the live.
What
yeah,
happened?
he's trying to set the camera on the mount, so we'll get
Number
it back
3,
on.
I like that.
We'll get it back on. I like that. Yeah, that's a good
Yeah, so that I mean, I saw pictures of his theater, and I was like, man, I just love the look of what he's done with the theater.
Yeah, it looks really clean and really good, and it's such a. It's not like overly done.
So you guys can hear me?
Very like.
We can hear you, but we lost your video, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
You can just hang up and rejoin, and I'll pull you back in.
Yeah, hang disconnect and then come back in. But yeah, no, I mean, when I saw pictures of it, I was like, man, I gotta reach out to him and see if we can get him on the show. And I've been talking to him for probably two 2 to 3 months, just chit chatting with him, and finally, I was like, come on, man, just come on the show, give us a tour, show off your work. You've done a fantastic job on this, so it's
Yeah, it looks great. I mean, it really is. It really looks good. And what I like about it is it looks very nice and very professional, but it has a look that is obtainable.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's not like,
absolutely.
oh, yeah, okay, sure, anybody can make a Star Wars, replication of the, of the actual production scene if you have, $2 million laying around, or 5 years of time. I mean, but yeah, that's what I like about it is it's very professional, it's very clean, it's well designed, and it still looks obtainable even though it's very high end.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I
No,
mean, it's higher end than what I got going on.
who chose
Jeremy,
the carpet for you?
Jeremy, quickly, I was going to touch on. I was just about to ask about the carpet, but before that, what model are those subwoofers? Were that the new Klipsch subwoofers, or we had a question about that? I didn't want to forget.
They're the new Premier, the RP 1400. So I actually have two 1400s, which are the 14-inch subs. Those
Yeah.
are in the front. And then the new RP 1600 is in the back. And who is it? Adorama had them on sale, and I almost bought another 1600 to put another one in the back, which I will probably end up doing. And I'll just end up putting them side by side back here, right behind the seats.
Almost run them near field.
Yeah, so I have a very slight null around 100 hertz, and I mean, everybody always thinks you buy more subs for more bass, but really it's just for more evenness.
For even coverage, yeah.
Had,
you're not
had,
gaining that
had
much.
to get rid of those nulls sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The
wife picked out the carpet.
Okay.
Nice.
So
Right.
I got a bunch of different carpet swatches, and we laid them all out after we painted the walls, and we were like stuffing them underneath the baseboard, these little 6x6 squares, and we ended up picking this one, which is actually from Home Depot.
Oh wow.
Oh really?
Yeah, it's
it looks
one of.
nice. She's
I
got a
need to
good eye.
change my Home Depot. I've never seen anyone look that good in Home Depot.
Yeah.
Eh,
I was going to ask you, did you go to a specific carpet store for that?
No, so I actually didn't go to any stores at all. I ordered 5 swatches off of Home Depot for $1 each, and then I'm a big internet researcher kind of a guy. So then I called a couple carpet companies after I looked on their websites, and they sent me some free samples. And so we had 8 to choose from, and we narrowed it down to 4. And then one night, we had some friends over, and everybody was checking the room out mid build before there was anything in it, and we were like, okay, everybody pick your favorite carpet, and it was kind of a vote, and at the end of the day, my wife said, I like this one. I think it'll look the best, and it came out amazing. It's really cool because this room matches nothing in the rest of my house. The rest of my house is a very clean white, modern kind of a home, and it's like you walk in here and it's like dark and like crazy carpet pattern. It's cool. It's like a different place.
Yeah.
That is.
Yeah, mine is the same exact way too because I have white furniture and white tables and so I'm just like you. And then when I build the theater, I'm not gonna do my theater completely black. I do want to or gray, or I just want some sort of pop of color. But um, if it does come down to where I'm getting major reflections, the first 5 to 8 feet are going to be velvet or a dark material. But if I do wind up getting reflections off of there, maybe I'll just put some maybe some automated curtains that'll cover, in a corner or something like that. It'll just come out when the movie comes on and go back when, just because I want some aesthetics as far as when, we may have like a Super Bowl party or something like that too. So
Yeah, where it doesn't.
not that your room doesn't have aesthetics. 'Cause like I said, I really love the look of your room. I just want some color, some color
Yeah,
in mine.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've researched probably for a good 2 months before I even started this, just watching home theater tours and of course I'm the person that'll watch those $500,000 home theaters and be like, how can I put that in my room
Mhm.
without spending $500,000?
So you have one question here from Russell D. It says, "How bad does it shake downstairs?" So
Okay,
if
so true story. Um, Once I did the Easy BEQ, I had to redo all the calibrations because the RCam was no longer controlling the subwoofers. The mini DSP was. So
right,
um, my buddy Daniel and he remotes into my laptop. We're running all the REW stuff. It's starting to get late. My wife wakes up extremely early to go to work. So it's like 10 p.m. like it is right now here, and she's in bed sleeping. And we get done, and he goes, "Okay, now play something that's super bass heavy and see how it sounds." He's like, "Test it out because we got to know if we have to make more changes." So I think I put on Fury. There's a
the tank
tank
scene.
scene.
Hmm.
Yeah, the tank scene where they're launching those tank rounds and they're just blowing up. And so I have it at like 45 dB volume, right? And we're watching the sub input levels on the Easy BEQ to make sure that we don't run into clipping. And he's remoted into my laptop and he's watching and he texts me and he's like, "Turn it up. Like, what are you doing?" I'm like, "My wife's sleeping." He's like, "She'll be fine." So I turned it up fairly loud. Um, that night gets done, I go downstairs and she's still completely sleeping. So my master bedroom is literally right underneath this room.
Oh
But
wow.
if I'm like watching a movie during the day and she's in the kitchen, which is like adjacent below us, uh, if I have it cranked and I have it going through the Easy BQ, hitting those super low frequencies, she said that glasses in the cabinets in our kitchen are rattling. So
Yeah.
I mean, she could she could sleep through it, but if she's awake, it's annoying. But I mean, that was one of those things that I compromised on because when I was designing it, I was gonna do the double drywall, green glue, and I was like, we it's usually my wife and I watching movies in here together, or it'll be
Right.
just me by myself. We don't have kids that are like trying to sleep. And I mean, even if we did, like most receivers nowadays have night modes where they shut the subs off. So I mean,
Yeah.
the vibrations aren't really that annoying, I guess you could say,
Right. Yeah.
downstairs.
And my wife said the same exact thing that, because I don't usually watch, I think I said on the last show, we usually watch all our stuff together. So, you know,
Yeah.
I'll,
So
it's not going to annoy the cupboard or the cabinets. It's just going to vibrate them, and hopefully the dishes don't fall out when you open them up, right? So,
yeah, exactly. Booby trap
and,
yourself.
I mean, actually putting it on the second floor gives you a little bit more tactile base, I'm sure too, right? Tactile feeling.
Yeah, so you definitely, like I said earlier, it feels like the floor is like rippling. Like you can feel it in the seat.
So, what have you? Is that something that you want, or is that something that you may want to try to control a little bit?
So I have three different room EQs that I put into the RCAM. I have a Harman based curve that's plus 10 dB for the bass, which is what I'll run if I'm not using the Easy BEQ. And then I have it's called my Easy BEQ plus 4, and it lowers the those sub 30 hertz because it boosts pretty hard. So I've played with it and I have presets now for everything. So like it's not over the top. I would say it adds to that it adds more to that immersion because you're no longer hearing it, whereas like bass above 30 hertz you hear it and it's like in your face like boom, but
Mm-hmm.
below that you feel it. It's like it's in your body. You feel it in the floor, you feel it in the
Right.
chair. So
Yeah.
it's a
So,
really
like,
expensive way of getting transducers
right.
without
Yeah,
having.
and that's what I was asking that for, because I have a friend that he suggested for me to buy the SVS feet to help control some of I guess to decouple the subwoofers from the floor a little bit, and that actually stopped a lot of that vibration, through my house and stuff like that when I did use those feet. So, but if it's something that you embrace and that you want, I wouldn't suggest putting that on there. If you want that tactile feel, but if it was something that became a that became a nuisance, or something like, that you be having walls with pictures and stuff vibrating, right next to it, you may be able to look into something like that.
Yeah, even with the SVS feet, right? Because I use that in my theaters also upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
You still get to have those tactile vibrations, but it's controlled. It feels more organized, right? It's almost like under control versus when I did not have those feet on. So, yeah, it's good to have them, but I think nothing beats having your theater downstairs, man.
Nothing beats having it downstairs or upstairs.
Yeah, downstairs. I think
Oh,
I'll
really?
prefer my downstairs. I don't know.
Really? I
Yeah,
think having the gap of the floor between the next floor below you like adds
it
to
adds a
that.
different dimension to it. Yes.
Yeah, it makes it almost feel like, I don't know. It's hard to explain because if it was like on, let's say, a concrete slab, the room wouldn't move as much,
Wouldn't
so
move
Correct.
as much.
you wouldn't get that tactile, like the floor moving or
Yeah, but when you say it's hard to explain, I think that's what gets me because I'm like, okay, I don't know if this movement I'm feeling is what I'm supposed to be feeling, or if it's just structural.
Yeah,
Right? It's like,
yeah.
is this how it's supposed to truly feel, or is this just my,
What's happening?
yeah, the gaps? Because at some point I even thought about getting someone to come use the spray insulation just to fill up that gap because it wasn't something that I treated or built the way that you would want to for home theater, that particular gap. So sometimes I'm like, maybe I can just get some spray foam or something, just add a little bit of something under there. That's why I think I would prefer downstairs and then I don't have to worry about vibration to some other parts of the house. But it's good.
Yeah,
You
I
get
mean,
that feeling.
look, I
It's
mean,
enjoyable.
bottom line is if you're not building a room with inside of a room, you're not going to control those bass frequencies anyway. It's
Yeah.
still going to go through regardless. And even with a room within a room, I mean that thing you have to float the floor. You have to do all kind of different stuff for you to you're spending 50 to 100 grand just to soundproof that room.
Yeah.
Well, and
The
then
right way.
you have to run a special air conditioning system because then you have a perfectly sealed room. So you have to have an air handler that pumps a certain amount of air in and a certain amount of air out so that you don't suffocate in there. And then you have to deal with double doors, and
hmm
it's just crazy.
Yeah, it's definitely a whole process for
Yeah.
you
So
know
one area I don't think we touched was your video sources. So what do you normally use as your video source? What do you?
So, like we were talking before my camera stopped. Arvolution, I was a, I actually still am a Plex user. I just recently bought a NAS as well. I bought a Synology 1821 Plus. It's an 8 bay. Um, so I have about 47 terabytes of movies. Um,
nice.
Nice.
Now, are you
so
ripping them as a BDMV, or are you ripping them as an MKV?
MKV.
Okay, so
And um, so my original sources were Apple TV 4K for everything else besides Plex. Um, Plex I ran on an NVIDIA Shield Pro.
okay,
Um, the reason for that is that the Apple TV 4K and Plex don't play along well with Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos. So I use the Shield for Plex. But now that I have the Arvolution Player One 8K, I use that as my. I have it connected to my NAS, and it pulls all the videos off of my NAS and gives me this beautiful interface that kind of looks like Kaleidoscape, and
Yep.
yep,
I love it. I think the Arvolution is a phenomenal player. The fact that they're coming out with so many firmware updates and
Yeah.
receiving feedback from customers who are saying like I noticed there's a bug with the subtitle movement, so you can move the subtitles up. So I have them set to like 88 vertical pixels so that my Lumagen doesn't have to zoom the screen in every time there's subtitles and then zoom it back out. So I moved the subtitles up. Well, if you go out of that movie and into a different movie, the subtitles are now down in the bottom
Down.
again.
Yep.
But you go to the subtitle movement and it still says 88 pixels vertical. So you go to 89 and all of a sudden the subtitles jump all the way back up, and then you go back down to 88, and it's where it should be. So they're
I must be
actually
the dumb one of the group because I hate watching movies with subtitles.
well, some of them are forced, so you have to deal with it. But
yeah.
but they're coming out with a fix for it. Like, they're very receptive to feedback. They're making lots of changes already. So it's
Yeah,
good to
I
see
think
that.
I think I need to actually download the last update, but I didn't do it because I was doing some testing on it. But yeah, they're 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 doing really well. I think Don, we could segue into just quickly into the
Yeah,
mini player, right? They do
yeah,
have
the
a
mini
mini
player.
player. I know a couple of people were asking about that. You know, when are we going to get a mini player or like a Z9 X Pro styled player? And yes, I guess they were listening to everyone ask those questions. So there is an Revolution mini player coming out. It is 4K. It's not 8K, which is okay, but it has mostly all the specs. If you scroll down, you should be able to get to the specs and where they do like the comparison.
Yeah, and so this is basically, our evolution has basically taken the same footsteps that Zapiti was, right? So this is
Yeah.
just a player. It uses the Revolution uh, as you can hook a hard drive, an external hard drive into this, or you can pull from your Revolution player that you have. You can pull directly from
Yeah, you
it,
can.
or your
Yeah,
NOS, just like but you're not going to be able to put a hard drive into this particular unit.
yeah, and you can network as many Revolutions as you have in your home theater in your house, right? Together, but the specs look pretty, pretty solid. I think the only thing it's missing from the 8K, it's actually has better specs than the 4K version, the original 4K.
Right.
Yeah, it does
I
have
guess they're
better
calling that
specs.
the Player One now instead of the Player One 4K.
Yeah, I think, yeah. I was thinking that they were going to retire it, but I guess they kept it on the market and then dropped the price by what, a couple of, probably like $100 or $80.
Yeah, so the Mini's got the True Life image engine that the 4K doesn't.
Yep.
So
I think it
source
just
based
lacks the
tone
8.
mapping.
Yeah, it just lacks the 8K, and then
Yeah.
so there's no price point just yet. Might need to reach out to Raphael to
Yeah, we need to
find
get
out.
Raphael on the show anyway because I'm working on my review of the 8K, and maybe we can just have a full discussion with him about it also.
Yep, and it's HDMI 2.1. I guess I think everything coming out now is coming out with a 2.1 spec. I think the chipsets. It makes no sense
Yeah,
not to have it on there.
yeah. It's a good thing for compatibility, I guess, with with the new
Yes.
receivers that are coming out. Speaking of that, I'm hoping, and Jeremy, I wanted to get back into this with you after this session. I'm hoping that Lumigen comes out with the 2.1 also, right? But as of right now, I don't think they have it, or I'm not sure if they even have it on the horizon. I hope that they do. I hope that they're working on it, just because it's a seamless. I can pass I'd be able to pass my PlayStation through there, my Xbox, not have to worry about uh, hooking the Revolution directly up to the projector versus, so I do want it to be a little more seamless. My Lindorf, they have an upgrade for me to send it back to upgrade the HDMI, the 2.1. I'm probably going to be doing that here in a couple weeks or so to go ahead and get that taken care of, because I do want to be able to switch 2.1.
Hey, scroll back down to that guide. What is that says planned? I saw some stuff. Oh, no, you passed it. Planned. What is that? DVD menus and AV sync
Events,
adjustment.
AV sync adjustment. That might be lip sync, maybe.
Yep. And then DVD menus. Huh. Okay. That just caught my interest. It's like, what is that?
I guess you can't see the full menu on there.
Probably just for
Um,
DVDs, right? So
yeah,
maybe
just
there.
for DVDs. So yeah, no, I mean, I'm excited to have the mini come out for this. I want to get the whole system set up throughout the house to where I have a couple. It's a great option. It's making me lean more towards, because right now the way I have mine set up, it's just multiple hard drives plugged into I guess like a multi-port for HD for 3.0 USB. So it's making me want to lean more towards getting the NOS. But these things are, by the time I outfit the NOS and everything else, I think I got like 1,900 movies. So by the time I outfit that thing, and I'm probably looking at 6 or 7 grand, to build a NOS that's not going to enhance my experience very much. It's not
Yeah.
going to
So
play the movie any better.
yeah. So you can just use the mini as a networking. But
Mhm.
I hope the pricing is reasonable.
I want to say I want to say they were around 200 to 300 bucks for the one from Zapiti, because I do have a mini from Zapiti. I want to say it was like 250 bucks before, so I would expect the price point around 300, 350, somewhere around there. I don't look. I don't have any insight, but I'm just
That would be,
guesstimating, with
yeah,
inflation
around
and stuff
300.
like that.
I would. That was exactly what my guess was, around 300.
Yeah. So, Jeremy, do you have just the one Arvolution player, or do you have them throughout the house? Because I know you can use your
So
NOS.
I just when they first came out, my friend Daniel is a dealer for Arvolution now, and so I looked at it, and I just bought one for the theater. Um, the other all the other TVs in the house are OLEDs, and they're all smart TVs. So I run Plex on all
Okay.
those. Um, and that was one of the things going from Plex to the Arvolution. The the user interface on the Arvolution is amazing. The only pet peeve, which is really just nitpicking at this point, is the Plex. You have video thumbnails when you're scrolling through scenes. The Arvolution, there's no video thumbnails, not for scrolling or any of the chapters. It just says chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You have no idea
So
where in.
what you're speaking of is when you're playing the movie, you actually can see like a picture of the
Yeah,
frames as you're
like,
going along.
so it's really helpful for when you're doing demos
Hmm.
and you want to like scroll through until you know where that scene is. You're like, oh, there it is, and you can click right there.
Does your Zadoo do that, Paul? Do you have the video thumbnail for that?
Uh, honestly, I don't remember, because I when I'm doing the Zadoo, I'm not usually demoing. I used the app to create my own demo, so I literally have a demo that just starts, plays a clip from one movie, then to another, then to another, then to another. By just go into a folder and say, okay, play all in this folder,
I see.
and cut
So,
all the movies.
Jeremy, just so you know, Paul is a big time Plex supporter. He's been our wizard as far as anything Plex. So he's very familiar with it, and been talking to him for a long time about Plex, and a lot of people consulting him about that, and he actually made the switch to the Zadoo, what, about a year ago? Maybe
When
6
the
months.
ZX9 came out, so it's been a little while. Just because the NVIDIA Shield, after the updates, whenever they did the OS 9 dot whatever version, man, that thing sucks ass after that. I mean, it really does. It was the original firmware on that thing. I would still be using it today and raving about it. But after they did the updates, man, that thing is a piece of shit, frankly. I do not accept glitches and slowness, and it's like, dude, I don't need 500 advertisements. I mean, I get it, you know, but I paid for this device at this time with these features, and now they're trying to, you know, bait and switch, if you would. It's like, oh yeah, here's this awesome product that's just yours. It's a gaming thing. Oh, and we didn't make it very well with the whole gaming thing on a little box, and now it's like it's just like any other Android bloated device that exists. And
So
I
Scott,
hate.
yes, sir. Scott was asking about some of the updates for the Revolution. I actually do get that in an email, just with what the new updates are. I think this was the
Yeah,
latest one.
I got the
Um,
emails too.
yeah, so it's an AV sync correction that Jeremy was talking about. And this just usually when they release certain updates, there's quite a lot. You know, there's the new stuff that comes out, and then they have
The
fixes that
fact
they
that
go
they
out.
actually give you the fixes listed is actually a big bonus, because ever since, you know, as much as I am an Apple user, I hated the fact. I think they pioneered let's just say
Yeah.
enhancements and fixes, and that's all we're putting in
Yeah,
there. Like, what the hell does
Yep.
that mean? Like, you
and
mean
not
you're
tell
taking a bunch
you.
of crap away and making my shit slower? Like, oh, F you guys, you bastards, you know? It's like, oh, enhances and fixes, huh? Is that what we're calling it?
Yeah, and I think they added this new feature for the maximum digital sample rate that allows you. That was something that wasn't there initially, I believe, and they added it. So yeah, they're pretty much they're listening to and taking a lot of feedback in, and it looks like
Yeah, and even
they're turning
even
around.
Zapiti did the same exact thing. It was it was update after update. They listened to their consumers, and what they needed. They added the live backgrounds. They added the music playing. They added a bunch of different stuff. They added more categories to categorize your collection. So it's great when a company actually listens to their consumers, and doesn't just say, wait, go ahead
Yeah.
and buy the next version, right?
Yep.
We'll add all that to the next version. So it's
Yep.
great when a company does that for you.
So I'll always be a Plex user because I share my library with my family back in California, and then I have some other friends that I share it with as well. So I have my NAS, which I literally got like 2 weeks ago, and it's finally all set up. So we probably got our NAS at the same time, and we're fiddling with them, which is funny. But I got it. I have it all set up, and it runs through a 10G internet to a switch that connects to my. I During COVID, I built a really nice gaming computer, and I started gaming online a lot. So um, I didn't want the NAS to be like a standalone Plex server and be able to transcode. So that's why I went the Synology route, because it has a Ryzen in it. So the NAS is literally just a network attached storage device that my gaming computer can pull information off of at like a gig a second if it should ever need to. And my graphics card can transcode and then put that signal out at another 10G connection out to the network. So my brother lives in California, and he can stream 4K Dolby Vision movies off of my computer here in Tennessee. No problem at all.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, I bought one of these what is it? OWC 10 gig network connector that goes into my Apple, into my MacBook here. So I'm running a 5 gig internet up and down. So
Yes. So I originally had I was gonna upgrade everything to 2.5, and I my motherboard and my desktop is 4. When was COVID? 4 years ago.
mhm.
So it only has a 1G. So I bought one of those USB adapters that does was it 10? Maybe it was 5. Maybe it was 2.5. I think it
Yeah,
was
I
two
think
and a
the
half.
USB adapters do the 2.5.
And it was so unreliable. It was just cutting in and out, and
Mhm.
so I just ended up buying a PCI card to put in there, and it's
Yeah,
way more reliable.
yeah. I saw the 10 gig PCI cards, but I'm operating off of a MacBook Pro, so
Yep,
couldn't put that in there.
I need me a Mac Mini or something, man. A Mac
So
Studio.
the benefit of the NAS too is the redundancy. So I have a 14 terabyte external hard drive that I've been sending to my home theater buddies that I've newly acquired in this hobby, and telling them to put some
No,
movies
no,
on
no,
it.
no, 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 no. We don't know about that.
Yeah, let's talk about that on the live stream. But talking about NAS, there was a question that came in from Everyday Jay. You probably will be able to answer this better, Paul. If you have a drive with, say, 8 bays, can you have 2 of them as RAID for important stuff? And the other 6 is just a bunch of disks. I always like that,
You
Jay
can
Boy.
mix and match, and if you get an
Yeah.
actual NAS, you can mix any whatever. You can have 8 different drives that are a single 18 terabyte letter, if you would. You can put 2 of them, just so that, like I mentioned, you can, of course, depending on the RAID, you have a minimum, so if you do RAID 5, right, you need a minimum 3 of those are going to be, a 5, which means you lose one. So let's just say they're all 10 terabytes, right? So you'll get 20 terabytes of RAID 5, which means, hey, at any time you lose that one. And then you can have another 3 that is a separate RAID. So you can have drive letter, D and E that are two 20 terabyte, storage units, and then have your last 2 as a RAID 0 for like super fast write and reads. And it gets very complex, but in reality, what people don't realize, unless you're sending big data or doing video editing, movies, even if you were to double what I won't say the word, highest streaming device that you can buy, bitrate, it won't even touch what a hard drive can do. So people have this notion, they get megabits and megabytes really confused, and it's a byte is 8 bits, so you have to remember that. And these movies are like 80, it's microns of what a 5400 super slow drive can do. You can play like 80 movies off of one 5400 RPM hard drive, and people think, oh god, I gotta have all this super fast. No, that's not true. It's what happens is when you get into video transcoding, that's where things change completely, because now you're taking real time data And it's not just that small little stream. It's,
Yeah.
oh, we buffered that stream, and then now we're displaying it on the screen, but oh, we want to tone map it. Oh, well, that means you're taking 24 frames a second of data. You're having to dump that into a tray, look at it, analyze it. Oh, wait, okay, well, where do we want to adjust it? And then send it back to the display. Or, change the resolution or whatever. Like, most of the time, like, you have to have a pretty high end card to be able to do 4K transcoding most of the time. And if you're doing HDR, you got to have like the highest of high end, and at that point you're only maybe able to do a couple transcodes. And that's where a lot of people say, oh, you can transcode with Plex. Well, if it's a 4K and it's not doing HDR, even the NVIDIA Shield in its most basic form can do 4K transcoding, but there's no movies out there that have no HDR and they're just 4K. The HDR is where it breaks the transcoding.
So
it
you
gets,
you actually sparked someone's interest. Look what the cat drug in.
What's going on, guys?
I know,
we got
right? You
Scott
say
here
something
back in the
technical,
house.
yeah. You get
I
him.
don't know
You
how
get
I
him in here.
sound.
You get him in here, right? He's like, oh, I gotta put this flame out.
Scott, meet Jeremy. Jeremy meets Scott, Mr.
Nice to
Wiggles,
meet you,
aka
Scott.
Mr. Wiggles.
He
Yeah,
came
yeah.
on because of the hat. That's all. That's the only reason he came on.
I saw the hat. I was like, damn it. I don't have anything to even match that tonight, Don.
Yeah, man, that was a gold mine find for me. My wife's like, "What the hell is this hat in the mail?" And then I put it on and programmed some obscenities in the hat to show her. And
Did she do what my wife and shake her head and just kind of walk off?
Oh man,
Pretty
but
much.
can it do a down arrow? That's all I want to know. Because I will buy one tomorrow.
Oh man,
it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, so what's going on, Scott? Thanks for joining the show, man. Long time. I know you've been busy.
I've been super busy. Work's keeping me very tied down, and then the rest of the time has been going to family. So I've been kind of hanging low, but it's had a few moments of free time. Figured I'd pop in, say hi, see how you guys were doing. I see we have a bunch of people I haven't talked to in a long time, even in the chat. I got Fred, got all the big crew in there tonight.
I know,
so
man. You
nice-
missed Fred.
nice
He
to
was
see
at
you.
the Daily Hi-Fi, and man, he was
Michael's in
good
there.
good old self, man.
Yeah. So
We
it
missed
felt good
Fred.
to be able to pop in tonight and just get to see everyone again. So
Yeah,
feels
man, we missed you.
home theater's home, right? That's the first part of it. Home.
You know you always got the invite, so
Yeah,
whenever
man.
you feel like
We miss you, man. We need some breaking news and all that good stuff, man. So you need to.
Yeah. Had some breaking news today. Did you see that? There's a 2 series of Lord of the Rings going to be released in 2026. 2 new movies.
Oh wow.
Okay.
I did not see that.
So, the Gollum. What was it? The Hunt for Gollum?
Oh, I've heard about that. I didn't know.
Warner
So
Brothers
it's
just
officially
announced it this morning.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that they officially announced that. So that's cool.
Yeah.
When is the release dates?
Yeah, it's
2026.
a long time away.
Ooh, yeah, a
Yeah,
little
that's a
bit.
bit.
We'll be at episode 200 by then.
We might even have 8K by then, right?
I bet you Don with his video player, he'll have it next month. Because he gets it so early.
Hopefully that's not the first movie we get to watch in Don's theater.
But let me get to the punchline. He'll have the movie, but he won't be able to watch it yet because that'll take until 2027 because he still needs a theater.
He'll be like, "Oh, that drywall is still holding me back."
I know, it's like, dude, how heavy is drywall?
I'm giving it one last shot. I actually have a drywall guy coming tomorrow. If he says he can't do it, I'll be working in there Saturday, but not Sunday because obviously it's Mother's Day. Got to treat the wife, take care of the family, all that good stuff.
You know what?
After that, I will.
This is what's going to happen. His son is going to get old enough
put in
to be
for
like,
a vacation.
Dad, I'm
No,
gonna take
so
care
I
of
did
this.
put in
Like,
for a
get out of the
vacation, right?
way.
So
Yeah.
my vacation is going to be, let's see. My vacation is going to be from the 20th through the 20th, or actually the 18th through the 27th. So, and I've already told the wife that is theater time. That's not Disney time. That's not any other time. I've got to get this thing done. So, either way, I'll be working and finishing drywall at that time if it's not already done. Because this is a guy that I actually reached out to before, and he gave me a decent price. He didn't give me the best price, but at this point in time, I'm willing to see if he's able to take over the job and hopefully get it done prior to me going on vacation. That way I can start pulling wires and installing speakers and building screens and mounting projectors, all that fun stuff, So building a riser,
Yeah.
so all
Well,
that,
you guys
all
were
that
talking
fun
about
stuff.
NASA's, and you guys just bought one. Is that what I heard? I just
Well,
picked up one. It's
I
actually
did.
still in the box.
Does
Oh, you
anyone
got one
have
of
an
those?
old
Oh
one they can
yeah,
just
those are
ship to
nice.
me
Yeah.
since you guys are
So
buying new ones?
the reason I got
Terramaster.
this one is it'll do 8K transcoding.
Oh
Is
wow.
Wait, isn't that the new one?
what?
I
It's
thought,
called a TerraMaster?
yeah,
It's
Yeah,
isn't
TerraMaster, but
TerraMaster
it's
doing the whole
top
drive right now like Ugreen?
5.
no, not really. Ugreen's been pushing pretty hard, but this TerraMaster one was one of the first with the i3 N processor in it.
Hey,
And
put a
it
link in the chat because I've been trying to get one. Hopefully, it's not
Does
$2,000,
it have quick
Scott.
no,
sync?
it's $700.
Oh, okay. Please put a link in the chat. I'll
It's
take a
got
Does
look.
it have
32 gig
quick sync?
RAM. What's up?
Does it have quick sync? Is that how it's able
It
to
does.
transcode?
It's the i3 N300 with quick sync, so it only draws like 7 to 10 watts of power on the CPU side, plus whatever drives you add in there.
Well, it's got the integrated graphics in it. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a huge difference when it has quick sync because that offloads it right to the proc, right?
Yeah. That's cool.
Extra instruction set or whatever it is there.
Okay,
Let's see.
quickly, Jeremy, I saw your message. Looks like you're ready to call it a night.
Yeah, I gotta take off, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you, though.
Yeah, man. No, look,
yeah.
appreciate you hanging out as long as you did.
Yep.
I know.
we're not.
I've been messaging. I ran out of beer, so that's time to close the show, man.
Golly.
No,
Yeah,
I do want to talk about a couple more things real quick, but Jeremy, thank you so much for joining the show.
Yeah,
you have you
super
have the
fun.
link. You have the link whenever you want to jump back in. Feel free. I'm also going to add you to our Home Theater Hub chat that we have. It's just
Okay.
Facebook Messenger. You can turn notifications off so you don't hear us texting all through the night and stuff like that. But we talk home theater all the time. We're
All
constantly
right,
running
cool.
stuff
Thank you.
back and forth.
I
across this.
appreciate it.
Yeah, man. No, thanks a lot for joining. Appreciate you. And I'll check back in with you, see how you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. It was nice meeting you guys. Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Jeremy.
Take care.
Thank you.
Later.
So, Scott, any new updates in your neck of the woods? I know you said you've been pretty busy, but
I did a quick video on the Lord of the Rings, like a short today, but that's been about it. That's really been about it. I backed up. So it was kind of ironic. I was backing up the Lord of the Rings 4K box set that I have, and I was just on the last disc, and Google in my news feed pulls up, "Hey, new Lord of the Rings." I was like,
That's
"Oh, this is
hilarious.
a little bit creepy."
That's
But yeah,
hilarious.
besides
yeah,
that, I've
that
been
is what a
very busy with
coinky dink.
work and yeah, nothing real exciting as
Nothing
far as
real
on the
exciting.
home theater side. So hopefully things will
What
continue to
what
trend
size
down.
drives will that NAS take that you have? What's
I'm
the
running
max?
the 22 terabyte Exos drives.
Oh, so the Seagates.
Yep.
Yeah, nice.
Okay.
So I'm running
And
four.
how many bays is that?
It's a 4
It's a
bay.
4 bay.
Okay.
So for me, for my collection currently, that's enough space. But since you're just doing, or I'm just doing movies and media with this
It
particular NAS,
was
I
enough
can always do a
space.
direct attached storage because it has USB 3.2 as well. So I could
Yeah.
expand onto that relatively cheap.
Okay.
Plus the cost savings. I mean, my current NAS that I have is that's running everything is a 16 bay dual Xeon processor. So big, huge enterprise 16 bay. And it's not cheap to run that thing.
We
No,
got a
I
question. We got
imagine.
a question for you. Has anybody? I don't think I haven't used the TerraMaster. I did
Terramasters
see.
are,
I did
yeah,
see a
they're one of the
Facebook
top.
ad.
They're one of the top 5 NAS companies in the world. I mean, they're
For the
just
small
as
business side, yeah,
yeah, yeah, hmm
they're like
yeah,
the more budget side of things. So
mm,
if you look at like
yeah,
QNAP when it first came out, it was super super reasonably priced, right? And then over the years, they kind of built a reputation, and their prices have climbed a bit.
yeah.
Terramaster's still at that earlier stage, I kind of think, or they're just trying to push for a more budget, lower price.
Yeah, because
But
I
this
think
one
I
has
think
really
I
good
saw
hardware in it.
I saw
The
a Facebook
software,
ad.
yeah, the software could use a bit of work. It doesn't have as
Yeah,
many features as the QNAP, but it has the basic features. You can put Plex on it. You can run
yeah.
virtual
If
machines if you want.
you're just doing your own home thing, yeah, I mean those
If you're just
things are
looking to share files,
just
it's
as
going to work.
reliable as QNAP. Yeah,
Yep. And you
QNAP you get because you're a snob and you don't want to worry about, you do
Wait,
other things besides media. Let's
did
put
you
it
just
that
say
way.
it's not going to share files? Do you want to clarify that for those who might be listening in the near future? What do you mean by that?
So, like, if you were to use it for something like it has a photo backup feature, right?
Yeah.
But the application within in that to like view your photos is not very well. It's not polished, right? It's there, kind of works. It'll back up your photos, but the viewing experience is probably not going to be quite as good.
Versus
That's just an
something.
example. I haven't played with it yet, but these are just some of the things that I've seen from other reviews with the operating system that's currently on it. They have a new one that is in beta that looks pretty good. I mean, you can do mixed drive sizes and still do the RAID protection, which
Oh,
gives
that's
you redundancy if you lose a hard
Synology
drive,
has that.
it'll keep
Yeah.
running. And then you can put one in of a different size that say it's larger. With the traditional NAS, if you put in 4 small disks and 1 large one, or let me explain that a little bit different. If whatever disks you put in there, it'll always shrink the total storage down to the smallest one you have in there. Where a TerraMaster with its new operating system, you can put a large disk, a small disk, a medium-sized disk, and it'll take all that space and make it usable. It has a little bit of, I guess you would call trickery behind it.
hmm Yeah,
So
and they
there's
use
some
just a
cool
little bit
features to
more
it.
overhead in the software for that.
And another thing about it is the hardware is pretty open. So unlike some of the other NAS brands, you're stuck using their operating system. With the TerraMaster one, you can put what's called like True NAS. You could run. I think
So
there's
it's like
like
open source
a version of
almost.
Synology
Yeah,
you could run on it.
an,
So
an
you can run
array.
different operating systems. So you're not stuck with theirs if you're not happy with it.
That's cool.
Hey
Yeah,
guys, thank you of all of you that are watching, man. Please hit those like buttons. Apparently, those things help the live stream. The more
Yeah.
people that like it, the more YouTube pushes it out
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
new viewers. So
And
please take a
Ike is on.
second.
Ike, you're on your road on the way, right? What are you sitting at for subscribers right now?
Let me check.
Let's see.
I'm almost there.
Negative
9:45
9:45.
until Paul's unsubscribes, and it's gonna be 9:44. So.
Can I
He does that
unsubscribe
every
twice?
morning. Every morning when he wakes up, he's like, "Let me just subscribe." But yeah,
Yeah, no. If you guys
9:45. We're
haven't
slowly
subscribed
getting
to
there.
Ike's channel, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. And then also, I'm also striving to. I think I'm right at 600 for me, real close to 600 subscribers right now. So, if you wouldn't mind, if you're watching on Ike's channel, head on over to Horizon Home Theater. Give me a like and a subscribe too, please. Definitely appreciate all you out in the audience this evening. So did you guys happen to catch what I actually watched this like 3 times, and I'm so glad that Sammy jumped in this chat here. Did you guys happen to watch the live stream about the new projectors that Sammy, Chris Deering, and Jeremy from Tech Enthusiasm put on yesterday about the
No.
new JVCs?
Yeah,
Oh
I
man,
did.
if you guys haven't watched that, very very informative. I sent out a super chat asking about Mad VR and Lumigen. Just some comparisons because those two guys are well-known calibrators in the industry, and to get some of their knowledge is just to be able to regurgitate some of their knowledge is definitely learning for me. Because I'm not a huge video guy myself, so it was on Jeremy's channel over there on Tech Enthusiasm. I know Jeremy's talked about coming on our show too, and we welcome him to come on anytime. Sammy to
Yep.
come on anytime. But they talked about the new JVC projectors, the 900 and the 800, and whether they were worth the upgrade, whether they weren't worth the upgrade. So definitely go over there and check that out. It was a really good show. It was a lot of I wanted to get in this with Jeremy that was on the show tonight because he spoke about having Illumigen, and I wanted to dig in with him to find out why he actually chose to go with Illumigen. Was it an issue that he was seeing, or was it just something that he was told that he should buy, or right away? But I know with mine, I've heard several people talk about it's literally the best piece of equipment in their rack, and that's why I purchased mine single handedly. Changed to projectors. Now this was 3-4 years ago when but and projectors have gotten a lot better now. The JVC is closing that gap, with their own tone mapping. Panasonic with their tone mapping, on the what is it, UB9000, the 800, and the 420, I think it is for the Panasonic Blu-ray players. So, I just to hear them talk, Chris and Sammy, about don't just go purchase this. It's not something that you just go purchase. It's not something, they're talking about, okay, what problems are you seeing that's what do you want to fix, right? They're not just suggesting going out buying a video processor just because, right? So it was very very enlightening to hear some good advice like that. So I hope that we can get Sammy on the show one of these days. I know he was in the chat.
Yeah, I
And he
think
said,
Sam, he's
I
probably
like
still in the chat.
advice like that. I was watching Chana's channel the other day, and someone asked if they should get a Trinov, and my answer, and Chana was like, "Oh, I figured you were going to come up with a smart aleck comment," but the reality is, if you don't know why you need a Trinov, it means you do not need a Trinov. A Trinov solves very specific problems.
Yep.
And if you already don't know what your problems are, you have no use for a Trinov. None whatsoever. I mean,
yeah,
you can say, yeah, well, it's the buy once, cry once, but I mean, it's kind of like buying a car. Do I need to buy the one that goes 200 miles an hour? Do I need to buy the one that goes? And if you only ever go to the grocery store that's 2 blocks down the street, it's like, man, get an e-bike. Like, what? You don't even need a car, man. Like, unless, oh, hey, I can't carry enough groceries back. Oh, now you have a problem, you know, and maybe, in that case, you wouldn't just buy it. You would like, okay, well, what's your use case? What are you trying to do,
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the analogy that I gave. I was like, man, there's absolute
Yeah.
reason and purposes for all of the super, super, super high end stuff, whether it be convenience, extra features for commercial use, etc., etc. But it's not to say that it isn't awesome, it isn't amazing, but you don't have to. Now, I'm not saying, hey, don't necessarily, like, whatever. Hey, if you got $20 million to spend on your theater, then okay, yeah, I would probably just say, okay, well, buy this processor,
Yeah,
and
I'll definitely reach out to Sammy. I think Sammy's still in the chat. I know next week we have Brolic Media coming on the show, I believe.
Yeah, Brolic Media next
And
week,
yep, and
and
then
then
I think
I don't think I ever
Michael.
put together that Google Calendar for you, did I?
Then Michael, I think the following week, and we'll try to get Sammy on. Definitely, I need to get him to Dallas to come calibrate my projector. We've been talking. The last time he was in Texas, he wasn't able to make it because I don't pay the big money. He gets people
Where
fly
is
him
Sammy
around.
located?
People fly him around to come calibrate their projector, and he's like in and out. So I got to
Do you
get
know
that
where
type of
Sammy's
money.
located?
Man, jeez, he's gonna hate me for this. Sammy, please tell us where you are. But he's not in Florida. He's somewhere up East Coast.
Okay. Yeah. No.
Rhode Island,
I know.
Raleigh.
Chris Deering. He made an announcement on Jeremy's show at the end of the show of where he's going to be touring and stuff like that. I know he was talking about coming to Florida for the towards the end of the year this year. So I don't know. I haven't seen Sammy chatting for a little bit, so I think he might have jumped off. But
Yeah, he's still showing up in the chat. He's probably calibrating another projector or something. That dude is always calibrating, man. It's like,
It's all like, while you guys are talking about it, I'm doing it.
yeah, he's like, okay, he's in Colorado. Oh, yeah, that's true.
okay.
Oh, well, shoot, man.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's
So he's
right
my
there in
kind of guy
Colorado.
already. Yeah, I'm more of a snowboard mountain guy and
Yeah,
curvy roads. So
Yeah. No, they put on an excellent show last night. I mean, answered a lot of questions. So, like I said, if you haven't gone over to Jeremy's channel, Tech Enthusiasm, go over there and check that out. Just some great advice to people that are just getting into this hobby or people that have been in the hobby for a long time. So appreciate people like Sammy and Chris that are giving good solid advice to people, not just
yeah. Oh,
saying,
I love
hey,
Not
that.
the
hey,
marketing stuff. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's Fred was making fun of me. He's like, yeah, you Trinov or your Breville espresso machine, because hey, I got a good deal, but yeah, most people don't have a coffee machine that costs over $1,000. So everybody has their thing.
Hey man, you gotta
But
be able to make those pretty leaves in
Hey.
your
yeah,
latte.
I had a very niche, thing, and that's a cheap one. If you get into espresso, $5,000 is not. That's like a normal high end one.
Well, you know
right?
what?
And you
If
can
it'll stop my
get to
wife
30,000.
from buying a fucking $8 coffee every morning, by all means.
Hey, say every
it adds
every
up.
man has a
and
vice, right?
that's where I was. I'm that person where I don't need I'm not serving 20 people, so I don't need the $3,500 one. But I got mine. Like I basically stole the thing, but I got one that it does my stuff, and I instantly can go from making the coffee to steaming the milk. Right, where the higher end ones you can make the coffee and be steaming the milk at the same time, but there's trade-offs. They're commercial grade, right? So you have to turn it on, and then you have to let it warm up for 30 minutes, so that heats everything up, right? Where the cheaper one that I have is like you turn it on now. Granted, if you were measuring the extraction, aka everything's about measurements, right? There's
being in
measurements in
my
everything.
business, All they are is roach motels for me. So being in the
Oh,
pest control business,
oh, the coffee machines.
yeah, you
Oh
got your
yeah.
water, you got your coffee grains, and you got your
Mhm.
harborage for the electronics. So that's all they
Yep.
are for me.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
God, yeah, I can't imagine. Yeah, if you have to clean those things,
Mhm.
just like people don't even clean their Keurigs enough. It's like, man, you have to
At
run
least clean.
treatment through there
Yeah,
to
yeah.
keep
You gotta
the
bacteria,
funk.
mold, whatever
Yeah.
else. It gets nasty, and
Well, look,
Oh
these
yeah.
people don't want to hear about us talking about coffee anymore,
No,
but
they don't. So,
we
but
definitely
it's
appreciate
all
everyone.
relative. Everything's relative. It's yes, a $50,000 espresso machine or a Trinov, if you need it, is worth the money.
or that
But
Hisense U8 is back in stock over at Best Buy. I don't know if you guys
I
saw
think
that.
Hisense came out
yeah.
with a new. They came out with a new. They're coming out with a new short throw too, ultra short throw. I
oh
believe,
wow.
from what I heard. So,
Nice.
but well, look, thank you
Anyways,
everyone for joining us on this literally half a year, 26 weeks. November 9th is when we started. So, thank you to Paul. Thank you to Scott. Thank you to Ike for putting up with me for a half a year every single week.
well, and everyone else that's had to suffer through, the. I mean, gosh, all the
Yeah,
people.
absolutely.
You got a
So
lot of
we look
Christmas
forward to doing
cards to
another
send
half
out
a year.
this year.
And Don is getting a PO box, so whoever can send Don the craziest hat, he promises he'll wear them on each show.
That'll be
Oh
awesome.
yeah.
I'll do it. I will
Yep.
do it.
Yeah, but next week, join us. We have Brolic Media joining us. It's another great guy in the home
Matthew
theater
Blair,
space,
absolutely.
Matt Blair. So that's another guy
In
that has a lot of
preparation, go to his
insights.
channel. He hasn't posted a whole lot lately but he's got some excellent home theater builds. I mean, I literally binge watched his home theater builds one evening. I think it was like 7 hours worth of him building his theater that I
I
watched.
applaud people that can film themselves working. I
Yeah.
am so when I start working, I don't want to move a camera or
It's a lot of
I
work.
would literally
So,
have to set like 10 up or something and then wear a
Yeah.
hat,
And then
the one that has
and then edit it down. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
because there's no way I'm gonna
I think I
stop.
saw his last Facebook post, and I think the last couple of posts he's put on Facebook, he had sounds of music playing, and I'm like, that's my guy. If you watch Sound
I'll
of
tell you
Music,
what.
and if you demo with Sound of Music, you and
You're
I
gonna
are
want to see
best
this
friends.
theater too. He's a
Yeah,
dealer. He's a dealer. He sells a lot of high end gear. Just want to give you guys a heads up. He does a lot of high end installations. You're gonna
Hey,
want
we
to
have
see
no
this theater.
problem with that.
but he
Like I
watches
said,
Sounds of Music. He watches
Yeah.
the Sound of Music, or at least he played it for a demo, so that's good.
Yeah, you're definitely gonna want to see this. And we'll get him to talk about the transformation. I actually went out to. I visited my mom up in Baltimore, and then he's in Maryland also. So I actually went to his house and demoed his theater, not the new one, but the one that he had before. Just fantastic, but and this one is it was over the top then. This one's even more over the top.
Wisdom Audio. Did he have
Wisdom
Wisdom
and all of.
Audio
I
for
think he still
speakers?
has the wisdom, right? So,
I think he's got the Wisdom Audio subwoofers. I'm not sure if he's changed them out, but I look forward to having him on next week. And Michael, Youth Man's going to come on the following week talking about M-Wave. We do have an opening on the 30th. So if you'd like to be a guest on the show, please shoot us an email at hometheaterhublive@gmail.com. Once again, that's hometheaterhublive@gmail.com. And we will see you all next week. Thank you, everyone.
thank you.
Later.